Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is John Imperial. Today we are going to talk about the iPad mini, the 6th generation. When I saw the Apple event, I was really intrigued, mainly because of the redesign, but also because of the 2nd gen Apple Pencil integration, which I'm a big fan of. So I just wanted to do a quick video sharing you guys my experience when it comes to using the iPad mini for about 2 weeks. I want to share to you guys my experience when it comes to architecture work, photo and video editing, and more. I just want to focus on what I think is really in question here, and it's the usability and really the efficiency of using an iPad mini. So I want to make this as simple as possible, and I decided to break this down into a pros and con list because I only have one con. Spoiler alert. So let's talk about the pros. Number one is the form factor. There is no question that this is a very manageable device. My hands aren't that big, but I can still use one hand to hold it. And I just love that. It's super convenient, it's light, and it's really portable. I gravitate towards the iPad mini when I'm sitting on the couch and maybe I just want to read something, consume content, or maybe do some quick sketching or taking down notes and whatnot, and I find this to be really good. Although I don't love reading books, I can confidently say that this is a perfect e-reader. I'm actually more of an audiobook kind of guy, but I ran into this app called Uptime. The full disclosure though, they did reach out to me. They gave me a complimentary subscription in exchange for just honest feedback with the app, and they didn't pay me to say any of this in this video or even to have it included in this video at all. I decided to include it because I thought that that was a perfect test with the iPad mini. Like I said, I don't read much. So I used that app as a test for e-reading, audiobook, podcasting, and all of that stuff. So yes, you heard that right. Uptime has an audio, a story time, and a reader mode, which I think is really perfect with the iPad mini. And like I said earlier, the iPad mini is also a perfect bedside companion. I rarely bring my 11-inch iPad Pro in bed. I think I only bring it in bed when I'm typing a script late at night or whatnot. But for the most part, I don't even like watching videos on this at night just because of how big the screen is. You know, like I don't want to put it too close to my face, but then at the same time, I don't want to put it too bright. It's just a little bit cumbersome. I can also imagine the iPad mini being a perfect job site companion. So if you're an architect, a designer, or anything like that, when you have to sketch on the go, when you have to do stuff outside, like you can literally just hold it in one hand, write stuff, which is good. And you can do that with the 11-inch iPad Pro or the iPad Air. But what I really like about the iPad mini is just how easy it is to handle. So let's say I'm on the job site or whatnot and I have it on landscape mode. My hands cover almost half of the iPad, which means it's just a lot more supported. And when on portrait mode, of course, I cover more than half. With the iPad 11-inch, iPad Air, iPad Pro, see if I have it on portrait, I'm covering right about half. But when I'm on landscape, I'm covering right about a third, which requires a little bit more of intentionality when it comes to holding it. It's not major by any means. I'm just trying to showcase how much easier the iPad mini is to hold, and that's kind of obvious, right? Because it's smaller. The second thing I like about the iPad mini is the integration of the 2nd gen Apple Pencil. Guys, the 1st gen Apple Pencil was one of the most unsophisticated solution that I've ever seen, and that would have ruined the experience of the iPad mini for me. I really think that the biggest reason why the iPad mini is a viable solution for architects, engineers, interior designers is because of the 2nd gen Apple Pencil. I thought the smaller screen would affect the experience greatly, but that has not been the case for me, which is really surprising. And this is a perfect segue into the third reason why I like the iPad mini, and it's surprisingly viable for work. This statement is especially true if I look at it with the lens of not having an 11-inch iPad Pro. I'm pretty comfortable working on the iPad mini when I look at it from that standpoint. For example, when it comes to photo editing, typically with tasks like this, you always want a bigger screen so you can see as much detail as possible. But for an amateur like me, it's actually good enough. I tested video editing with LumaFusion and it works perfectly. I had no issues scrubbing through 4K videos, play, pause, and whatnot. And actually, even when it comes to architecture, has actually been a very pleasant experience, which is surprising. Bottom line is, I think if this is all you have, you can definitely make it work. But when I put back that original lens perspective that I have, knowing that I have an 11-inch iPad Pro, it's difficult for me to really do architecture work on the iPad mini. Yes, like I said, you can make it work, but you sacrifice a good amount of things, and we'll talk about that later in the cons. And the fourth reason why I like the iPad mini is it just feels more like a tablet. And there's no real definition of what a tablet is and isn't and what it should be or shouldn't be. But for me, nowadays, when I buy something, I want to use it for multiple things. So if I could buy one thing and use it for personal and business use, that's amazing, that's great. But you sacrifice something with that. Because truly, if it's for personal use, then you give up some of the business aspects to it. And sometimes when it's for business use, then you kind of give away some of the personal aspects. And in the past 2 weeks of testing out the iPad mini, it's just really nice to know that when I pick it up, I kind of know what I want to use it for. I know that it's more for pleasure than work. Like, it's not even like a 50-50 split, which is the case when I'm using my 11-inch iPad Pro. It's more like an 80-20 split. 80% personal use, 20% business use, which is just nice to have, but it does come with a price, which is $500. So there's only one con for me, and it's mainly when it comes to architecture and sketching. So let's take a look at the app called Trace. This is an app that I use a lot when it comes to architecture because I love using it for marking up drawings, producing red lines. So let's look at the iPad mini. Say I want to sketch something. This is the layout of my home office. Say I'm planning the home office, want my desk there, can be right here, whatever. The most comfortable position that I found for me is having my wrist resting on the screen itself. With the iPad mini, if I were to put myself in that comfortable position, right, I'm covering almost half of the screen already. Yeah, I can move this over to the side like this, but then I can't see the other context. Like, I'm giving up that space. And this is truly just kind of a curse of having a separate device that that can achieve this task a little better. If I were to do the same thing, see, I'll make it about the same size. I think that's about the same size. Like, see how much bigger room I have. And if I were to put my hand here, I just have that much more screen real estate. And the extra screen real estate is really hard for me to give up, especially if you think about what I'm used to working on. Typical architecture drawings are like 22 by 34 or 24 by 36 inches. Or if you shrink it down to half size, it's 11 by 17 or 12 by 18. So what I have here is an 11 by 17 size drawing. So if you look at it, this 11-inch iPad Pro is less than half of the size of the 11 by 17 sheet, which is already so convenient. But imagine shrinking your screen down more to an iPad mini, which is about a quarter of this 11 by 17 sheet. And I think this is where it gets a little bit difficult, because when you look at it from that lens, when you want to get work done, especially for architecture or other similar purposes, your medium that you're used to working on is typically already big, and to be able to shrink it down to this size is already a blessing. And I think that shrinking it down to an iPad mini would really be difficult. And this brings me to my final thoughts and recommendations. If you're looking for a tablet, an iPad, and you have media consumption in mind, or reading, maybe light sketching, light drawing, and all of that stuff, then the iPad mini is absolutely great. But if you have the mindset of, I want to get work done, then I would suggest spending an extra $100 and get the iPad Air. I still think that that's the sweet spot between price and value. The fact that you get extra screen real estate, you have the second gen Apple Pencil, you're able to pair it with other keyboards out there like the Magic Keyboard or the Logitech Combo Touch. It's just awesome, and I think that that's the way most people should go, unless of course you're looking at using it more for personal use. For me, there's just so much overlap between my devices that right now I am kind of torn. It's hard for me to justify keeping the iPad mini, but if I were to keep it, I would use it just as I stated, for personal use, reading, light sketching, light work, maybe a good amount of photo editing, not so much video editing to be honest. But that's just me. Your experience could be totally different from mine. I just wanted to give my 2 cents. Let me know in the comments below if you have an iPad, what are you using it for? Which one do you have? Or if you don't, which one would you rather have? The iPad mini, iPad Air, or the 11 or 12-inch iPad Pros. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.